Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Masha Turchinsky, and I am coming to you live from the exhibition Women to the Fore. And this exhibition gathers together over 40 women, female identifying artists over the span of about 150 years. And over the course of the exhibition, we have been taking the time to hear directly from the various artists. And today we're going to get to hear from three. And I'm going to let one in right now. And so today we're going to hear from the artist Joséphine Douet, followed by the artist Seongmin Ahn. And then in the final portion of the program today, we're going to hear from Shaniqua Benitez. And we're really excited, and I see that Joséphine has joined us. Hello, welcome.
Hello.
So we wanted to get together to share the works of the three of you. You're coming from very different points of view, very different practices, different mediums, and we thought that this would be exciting, a great moment to share your work. And I'm glad that you're joining us over from Paris, correct?
I am so happy. Thank you for having me. Yes,
I'm
in Paris at the moment, yes.
Excellent, excellent. So as I was just saying to everyone, the show features over 40 women artists, and their work spans the course of about 150 years. And what we've been really excited about are the juxtapositions and the conversations that we've been able to have by putting different women from different periods of time or different perspectives together. And so you're up first, Joséphine. We thought that we would make this an informal conversation, and I'm going to go over to your work. And I thought we could go back and talk about your work, the work in the show, the work that's in the museum's collection, and then also tell us what you're working on next so that we can be looking for you. Okay?
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
All right, wonderful. And we are, again, this is an exciting moment. It's very good to reconnect with you. I remember when we first worked together was in 2017, when your work was featured here in a solo exhibition called Wyeth Wonderland, and that is when you had been exploring Chaddsford, Pennsylvania, and the stomping grounds of Andrew Wyeth. And so this work that I'm about to focus on right here is a result of that series. And I'm going to just take a moment, and I'm going to zoom in for some details before you start to tell us about this work. And I'd love to hear about and if you could tell everybody how it came to be. What was the series about?
Well, the series, sorry.
Nope, and you take it away. I'm going to get out of the camera and I'm going to let you speak.
Well, this series was originally a commission from the Thyssen Museum in Madrid, Spain, because they were planning a retrospective of Andrew and Jamie Wyeth's work in the museum. So they just sent me out there and said, well, you better get something wonderful out of there. So our concept was very clear at the beginning. We just wanted to do, to go on the path of Andrew Wyeth's work. But then, as I was starting, it just evolved to something bigger and deeper, because it became my story, because when you arrive in Chatsworth, basically, everybody knows who you're talking about, because Andrew Wyeth is the big celebrity, is just like the man, but is still the townsman. So everybody knew what I was working on. And, that's the big Helga story, with this hidden works during 15 years, big scandal, big thing in the art world. But then it became my story, because I actually became friends with Helga, who at the beginning was really like the Flying Dutchman. Everybody knew about her, but you would never see her.
So just in case we might have some followers who may not know who Helga is, would you mind giving a little background about why Helga mattered to this journey that you took?
Oh, she's very important, because, actually Andrew Wyeth had two sides of his work. He had the work that he was producing, who was his actual work, and which was, I would say, more daily, really grounded in his daily life, in the surroundings of Chatsford, the way he sees things. People will always tell you if there is a hair that he has painted, a horse hair that he had painted, you could tell whose horse it was, what time it was, and what was the weather that day. But he had on the other side Helga, a relationship with Helga, who was his neighbor, one of his neighbors. And he has painted her for years and years and years, in fact, actually 15 years, and nobody knew about it. Not his friends, not his wife, nobody. And then suddenly the whole bunch of works that were about 250 just came out. And it just showed a totally different way of working, more sensuous, more bolder, I would say, freer. So it's very interesting. That was very interesting when I was there, because then when I met her, the whole thing just fell to place, because she really is kind of joining piece. Like, I really like them to in my work to focus on transitions and on paths and special places that are twisting reality. And she is that. She is just like an open door to another world.
And you talk about that with photography. That photography is like a window, window or a door into a moment in a world. Can you tell us about that? How do you think about that with your work? That photography is that moment.
I do think that because my work focuses more and more on death and the way human beings are coping with it. But it's not like graphic, like dead people, but all the systems the humans try to apply and develop to get their own language and to get to be close to death and to live with it. I've been working with bullfighters and trying to find out how they could cope, facing death every day. Then I went to do this White series, and there is a very big part of White which is about death, because he lost his father when he was very young in a tragic way. It was a train accident. And then after that, you can see death everywhere, but not in a gruesome way. It's just there, and it opens up to a kind of a new world. He's at the end, if you see all of his work, it's really about constructing his own mythology, where you have different characters and gods, I would say. So that's what I'm interested in my work more and more, actually.
And I remember in this series, you really you didn't just arrive and then start to take pictures. You really, you tell us about that process. What happened when you took this picture as well as the other pictures from that series? Tell us about how you finally found the right moment to take these pictures.
Well, it took me ages. I didn't have much time. I had 5 weeks in total, because the exhibition was, let me think, 4 months after. So we had to edit, produce everything. But it took me a lot of time, because people are very private in Chatsford. So I had to get to know people. They had to get to know me, and not knowing that I was a threat, and I only wanted to be to do an artist's work and nothing else. I wasn't taking advantage of them or anything else. So basically everything just piled up very slowly, and then I would say in the last 10 days suddenly everything was open and I could shoot. And I had, I was over all the easy pictures that I could do, because the place is beautiful. But then it's really like a bag of sweets, because you want to shoot everything because it's so beautiful and so bucolic and romantic and incredible in the middle of Pennsylvania. But then after walking a lot, I walked, I don't know, 10, 15 miles every day, just to get you know, that kind of trance, artistic trance, to just get to the point and to shoot the right things. So that is basically at the end, I think it was just after Halloween, and I was in the field at some now friends in a farm in Pennsylvania, and everything was dead already. But I loved the shape and the light of this, because this is really, you can already feel that there's renewal in it, because you have the seeds. And you know, my work is really influenced by my background. I'm French with a Catholic education, so there's a lot of references to the Catholic iconography. And as you can see, this is completely a bishop's crook, for example. And that is important for me too. I don't do it on purpose, but I always find things like that. So there's always a kind of religious meaning in everything that I do. So, you know, you can see all these crumbling flowers, but then you have an open sky behind. It's always, it has always something to do with death. It is, especially in this series, which is all shot during fall. But I talked a lot about this with Laura Vukels when we made the catalog for the exhibition, and that was pretty fascinating, because we got deep in. So let's say, get it if you can. It's great.
Yes, it's a beautiful catalog, and yes, it was curated by Laura Vukels. And Joséphine, after thinking about that life cycle and this image, which shows a life cycle, and you actually walked Chadsford, how did it change your understanding of that series that Andrew Wyeth did? And how did it, and I guess I would say, or ask, how did that impact your work, your new work? What this type of series, having inhabited and walked in the footsteps of an artist, inhabited where they were, how has that changed you or your perspective?
Well, it has actually changed my work in a way that I love. I've always been quite baroque, like really baroque in my work, with you know, dark shadows and very strong things. But then after that, I suddenly understood that it wasn't necessary to do things, to put too much. And then I tried, and I started to dry out my work. I really believe in austerity. Now, you can still have a very baroque and I would say full of love and sensuality and darkness work, but it doesn't necessarily has to be like that on the picture itself. And it has changed a lot in that. And I can see that the work I'm finishing now has still a very big Wyeth thing on it.
And so tell us now, I'm very familiar with your work with the Spanish bullfighters. And again, that also was a stepping into a moment of time, certainly that risk of mortality. You've also have done a lot of work in the fashion realm. Yes. And then this series. So tell us, what should our audience be looking for next? What is the object of your fascination right now?
Well, there's a lot going on right now because I'm finishing a project in Denmark, where I live now a big part of the year. It's for 2 museums in Denmark, one on the west coast. It's called the Vendsyssel Kunstmuseum, and then the project is going to Copenhagen at the Kastrup Gårdsamling. And it's a very dark story about the end of the world.
Oh.
Actually, you know,
please tell us more.
Well, you know, the west coast of Denmark is being hit very badly by climate change. It's disappearing like 2-3 meters a year. It's very quick. For example, if there's a location where, you know, that movie from the 80s called Babette's Feast.
Yes.
Yes, the one on Oscar. Well, the location has disappeared. It's in the water. So, yeah. So I was very interested in that. And as my house is not that far from there, I worked a lot on that, about the way people who live there have developed once again their own mythology, the way they cope with disappearance of the place. Yes, to me, it's like there is a big beast. The water is like a big beast eating up the coast. So that's what I've been working on, and all the processes on the individual side, like what people actually do to cope with this reality in front of their house. I mean, houses are falling down, the dunes, and what is not happening on a more macro view. What is the state doing? What is politics doing? You know, because it's the two sides of the same problem, but the focus is not dry. It is really mythological. So
that's very interesting. So we'll be looking forward to seeing that. And
so that's 22.
22. Okay, 22. That's good.
And in the meantime, I am about to go and shoot an incredible project in Russia.
Ooh.
Yes.
Where?
That I can't tell anything about because, you know.
Okay.
But it's amazing. It's a crazy story. Once again, death, you know, wonderful. And then we are working together with Adelson Galleries to have the White Series in downtown New York at some point when Lady COVID allows us to do it. So
Excellent.
It's going to happen at some point.
That's wonderful.
And that's it. And on a very
that's a lot.
Sorry.
That's it. That's a lot.
That's a lot. In a very short term, I'm closing the year 2022 with limited edition print sale next week. So that'll be it for the year.
Wonderful. So this is good. This gives us a lot to look forward to. I would like to ask one last question for you before we turn to Seongmin Ahn. I wanted to ask, have you ever been in a group exhibition that only featured women, and yes or no? And then also, what does that mean to you to be in an exhibition, Women to the Fore, with only women?
Well, no. The answer is no. And I'm extremely grateful to you for that exhibition, because I think it's just the right moment to prioritize in a very positive way women and their work. And it is actually one of my battle horses. As a photographer, as an artist, I think women need extra support right now, really, on an active way, from museums and institutions. And you're doing that wonderfully. For example, I think there's one thing that I think is amazing. You know, we have prizes and grants and all kind of things, but usually you have to be under 30 or under 35, max 40. But you know, what are most women doing when they're 30? Well, having babies. A lot of us are. So I think that is something that has to change. You shouldn't have any age limit for anything. We need to get more together. And I think the way you're doing it, putting, you know, like a very big range of work and women and, you know, kind of works and different disciplines. I think that's the best way to do it, because you can really see how a woman's gaze has really evolved. Because you can, of course, you can see a big difference between art 150 years ago and now. Of course, everything we're freer, but are we as free as we think?
Right.
No,
and you just introduced a very important topic that I feel we should explore more, which is that ageism in that, and how women artists are treated, and the time at which people feel a pressure or compelled to complete work, and that timeline for men is not necessarily the same for women. So you've brought up a very interesting topic.
Well, yes, and but then you think about Louise Bourgeois and you just relax.
Well, so Joséphine, I want to say thank you for this. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking the time to let us explore your work. I'm going to get out of the screen again to do one final look here. And everyone, Joséphine Douet, who is joining us today, live from France.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled with the exhibition. I'm thrilled with seeing you again, and I hope we can see each other in person very, very soon. Thank you so much, Masha.
Oh, thank you so much. And everyone, for those who are tuning in now, this object, this work of art, this photograph is called Fall Harvest. It was created in 2015 by the artist Joséphine Douet. It is part of the museum's permanent collection, and it is featured in the exhibition Women to the Fore. Joséphine, what a pleasure to see you, and we will be in touch again soon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Of course. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm going to continue for those tuning in now for this segment. We are here in Women to the Fore. This exhibition features over 40 female identifying artists. It was co-curated by Laura Vukels, who's the chair of the Hudson River Museum's curatorial department, along with Victoria McKenna-Ratchin, a curatorial assistant. This exhibition brings together women over the span of 150 years. And we just heard from Joséphine Douet, whose work is in our collection. And next up, we're going to hear from Seongmin Ahn. And let's see if she is here and asking to join, I believe. So just give me a second. It takes a moment where we work with our technology here and ask to join. Bear with me. And if Seongmin, if you are on, I guess ask to join, and then I can, there we go. Excellent. Okay, we're just waiting for Seongmin now to join us. And she's connecting in now. Excellent. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well. So we are connecting with you. You are within our time zone. So we've moved over from our visit from with Joséphine Douet in Europe, and now we are back in New York, New York time.
Yep.
And everyone, this is Seongmin Ahn. Her work that is part of the museum's exhibition, Women to the Fore, is entitled Aphrodisiac 30. It was created in 2019. And I want to welcome you, Seongmin Ahn. Yes, and I'm already seeing comments in the feed. Indeed, it is beautiful. We're looking forward to hearing about this work. Seongmin Ahn is not a stranger to the Hudson River Museum. She was a teaching artist in residence during the museum's exhibition, The Color of the Moon, Lunar Painting in American Art. And during that time, she worked on an incredible array of programs, helping people think about the moon in art in different ways. This particular work takes us in a different direction, and we're really excited to have it here. And so, Seongmin, I'm going to first focus in on some details, and I want to hear from you about this work of art. So first, I'm going to take it in like this. We'll start at the top. And we can just scrub, I'll let people take in the imagery, and then we'd love to hear from you.
Hello, everyone.
Okay. Okay, so Seongmin, take it away. I'm going to keep the camera fixed on your work, and please tell us about what we're seeing in this picture.
To note, obviously, the nature presented as a nature, form of the nature. So the aphrodisiac, I wanted to present the nature as a food that represent some kind of like the nature as a food that provokes spiritual excitement or spiritual arousing. So the title is aphrodisiac. So as the title aphrodisiac suggests, it has some kind of sexual notion in it, which is rather poetically embedded in my work. In this work, I wanted to raise some questions about the relationship, kind of deep connection between physical pleasure and spiritual fulfillment through the natures.
Okay, so now what's really interesting to me about this is I'm seeing a very high level of technical skill my understanding is that you are trained in both traditional Korean painting, as well as you have studied for many years contemporary work. So could you talk about that duality of how did your traditional training impact your contemporary work?
So yes, I studied traditional painting from my teenager to until like late 20s, and then I came to US and went on. I got another MFA degree in mixed media contemporary art. So I really respect the traditionalism. But at the same time, I really like to push the boundaries of the traditionalism and opening up a new dialogue, adding my narratives. So that was kind of foundation that I'm trying to do. So through that process, I also want to connect the tradition and the contemporary, and also extending that idea, connecting two different opposite concepts like West and East, and old and new, young and old, and also man and woman. There are a lot of different also contrasting concepts that are, in my opinion, it's complementary each other, not contradictory. So that was the bottom line of my work, how I perceive different phenomena and different events in my social, political, emotional life.
Okay, and so is there tell us more about this particular landscape, and is it an imagined landscape? Is it inspired by a particular landscape? Is it inspired by a practice that is from traditional painting? Why, we have this big bowl of noodles or soup, and the mountains have a particular, of course, technical and particular technical style. So could you tell us one about why this landscape? Do you think about a particular landscape in your work? Is it imagined? Tell us more about that.
So technically, it came from Asian landscape painting in ink painting manner. So I was trained to do that through my whole graduate school till the late 20s in Korea. So it's like home to me, that I really so get used to it, and that which is also associated with Taoism and all of those Asian fundamentals of how to see the world, how to interpret the world. This kind of landscape is very typical representation of my tradition. And also, I'm just not really copying down the traditional visual elements. So I sometimes incorporate with some visual objects from my daily life. So I pick up some little rocks from playground when I took my girl to the playground, or when I take a walk in park, that I just pick up a little piece of wood. So that also can be the reference that I visualize from. So I kind of combined these traditional technique and some reference that I can find from my daily life, which also represents some piece of nature. So it's always, there's some connections and interconnections between some traditional languages and my daily life in contemporary world.
Okay, that's very interesting. And so, first of all, I see you have a work behind you. Is that from? Yeah. So now, is that from this? Is that one from the same series, or was it? Yes. Oh, here we go.
Series.
We can see.
I've been working on this Aphrodisiac series maybe from 2014, and I've been created about 30 or 40 of these in different sizes and different formats, and with a background clouds or not. So that's always big issue to me if I'm gonna add that clouds or not. So that little detail really matters. So that was one of the first pieces that I created, and what we have in the museum is one of the latest one that I created, that I introduced the gold background. And so the background color is really meaningful to me, and important that I really select cautiously with a lot of thought process.
So tell me about that. Tell me about the color of the background, because here, in the work that's behind you, I see a vibrant but more matte orange, and then this blue color. And now the work in the museum is a beautiful glimmering gold. So could you talk about that? Why this shift? What does this gold mean?
With gold, well, each color has its own representation and its own functions, that what kind of emotions that brings to the people. For example, red represents some kind of passion, or it can be danger, it can be love, and in meanwhile, blue can represent some deep calmness, serenity, or purple can be mysterious. So I like to bring that kind of emotion to the as a background, so that I can evoke certain emotions in audience when they look at the painting. So from matte color to the glimmery gold is amazing that I didn't use the actual gold, but gold has its representation of the glory or eternity, and it really brings a lot of hope and power. So so I just love it. And also
and so do I, and you can see I'm looking at the comments flying by in the chat below, and so do people who have come to the museum and who are viewing it here. So it's speaking to them. And I guess I would ask you the same question I asked Joséphine. I've got two questions at the time we have together. One is, have you been in an exhibition that has solely featured the work of women artists? And yes or no? And why is that meaningful to you, to be part of an exhibition that is focused on the work of women artists?
Well, yes, no. This is my first time to be in a show with only women, and I think it's really meaningful, especially in this era that historically women are very underrepresented, while there's so many talented and devoted and passionate women and women artists. So it's really time to give equal the opportunities for their effort and talent.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so honored to be part of the show.
Well, we're proud to have you as part of the exhibition. And then my other question for you is, what's next? What are you working on now that those who are tuning in here today and who have come to the exhibition and have expressed a lot of interest in your work, what should they be looking for? What is intriguing you right now and causing you to go to your studio and create again?
So my work is my artistic response to the everyday event, emotional, social, and political event around me. Right now, what I am confronting is the COVID.
Yes.
And this lockdown really devastated. This pandemic really devastated all of us, and we are still going through it. So we might know where we began, where we are going to begin after all of these difficulties. So right now, what I am doing is I can show you the work here.
Yes, please.
Right behind me.
That's great. Oh, okay,
so
great.
This is hybrid letter painting that you can see it again and 다시 시작 means again or begin again in Korean. So I am designing this a letter in hybrid fashion that I designed the Korean letter in Western filigree, and also in English I introduced Asian elements like a cloud or a dragon. So it has intercultural elements connecting each other, and I am expanding these two different languages in Chinese or Spanish and other international languages that represent the demographics of the U.S. and in New York as well. So I'm expanding. This is a very direct message that I like to give my audiences, that we can begin again.
Yes.
After all this hard time, we can begin again and again and again. So that's kind of strong message that I like to give to myself. And for also other community that was devastated by the pandemic. And I'm going to expand this into a community mural project. So I just got grant for that. So I'm looking for a wall, and I have to contact the landlord who would allow me to have a large size community mural.
And
that's
this
coming
is
up.
this is interesting. So this is wonderful. So this is a very interesting work. It seems to me you're speaking to resilience and that idea of and that renewal, right? And beginning again and again. I also saw that you had recently done a beautiful public work. And could you tell us a bit about that and where someone can find it if they would like to see it?
Okay, that's in Flushing, on Union Avenue, and I believe it's 33rd, 6th Street. It's very hot area of the Flushing, around where Chinatown and Koreatown meets, and that is the middle that different kinds of flowers sprang from earth, which also specifically represent the Asian continent. So each flower represents a different ethnic group from Asia. So and also behind the flowers, not really behind, like among the flowers, the skyscrapers that New York that represent New York symbols, basically the Statue of Liberty or Empire State Building, that kind of New York symbol sprang out of that flower. So which represent how immigrant community came from Asia and become the vital force to support New York. That's what that means. So that. Yeah.
No, that's actually another important conversation. So in the last segment, Joséphine Douet talked about, at the very end of her talk, she talked about ageism and how it occurred to her that so many women artists end up hitting their stride later. But you've just brought up another, so there's the ageism component, and then you just brought up something really important also about immigration and migration and that contribution to communities and societies. Do you have any particular feelings about, I mean, you just mentioned that this mural, and I hope, by the way, I hope you will put in the chat the address where people can find it so that they can go look at it for themselves. How was that mural received in Flushing? What was the response?
During the process, I was unhappy. There's some incident. There's always, for those kind of big projects, there's always some incidents. So there's some the unhappiness going on and struggles. But whatever happens, the response from the audiences were amazing and great. So I was like, really, it was really mind-opening and eye-opening experience for me, how my art can inspire people and can really bring something good and good energy to the people, no matter how I was satisfied or not. So I really found some new possibilities of my work, how it can function. It really function, not just aesthetically beautiful. It can really have some function and some impact on the community. That was new to me, that I really like to push my work into that direction. And so that also connected this project, how I want to approach to community through my work.
So do you think you would that you would pursue more public work based on that experience?
Yes, definitely. I really enjoyed it, and it was more personal, aesthetical, responding my traditionalism and how I interpret it. But from this pandemic, I was really able to kind of turn the direction into somewhere else. I also doing it, but at the same time, I'm adding a new dialogue in my paintings, in my work.
Well, Seongmin, this has been so wonderful to be able to connect with you today live and to show this work. I'm going to do, again, just pan in on this one more time. And of course, this exhibition will be on view until January 3rd. And again, this is an artist to follow, Seongmin Ahn, and you just heard about her work and how she's now exploring not just work for the intimate work, but for the public realm. Seongmin, can I ask you if you would like to end with any particular thoughts before we end our time?
No, I was really happy to be part of the show, and thank you. Really appreciate thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, we're thrilled to have you, and thank you for joining us. And so everyone who has tuned in, just give us a moment. We're going to transition to the third artist of today's segment, Shaniqua Benitez. So again, Seongmin, thank you so much. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you for being part of this exhibition.
My pleasure.
And we will see you soon.
See you soon.
Okay, and so hello everybody. This is Masha Turchinsky, and for those of you who are just tuning in, we're going to be looking at the third artist of our segment today. We're here at Women to the Fore, and this is an exhibition that gathers together over 40 female identifying artists over the span of 150 years. It was co-curated by Laura Vupels, who's the chair of the curatorial department here at the Hudson River Museum, alongside Victoria McKenna Ratchin, curatorial assistant. And our third artist that we're going to speak with today is Chaniqua Benita. So I'm going to walk through the gallery, and what's nice about this is I'm going to be able to give you a sense of the works in the exhibition. And I think I see that Shaniqua has joined. And so Shaniqua, if you wouldn't mind, just ask to join, and then ask to join me, and I'll be able to let you in, and then we'll get our conversation started. This gives me a moment, as I said, to give you pan around and let you see the range of works. There's Louise Nevelson, Yvonne Thomas. Okay, and she should be on in just a second, and here we go. And Shaniqua Benitez is connecting now. All right, hello, good morning.
How you doing? How you doing?
I'm good, I'm good. And so are you tuning in from your studio in Harlem?
Yes, my studio that is also my home.
Studio and a home. So we have an artist who is living in a living and working situation. That's great. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And I'm thrilled to have your work in the exhibition. What I'm going to do first is let our audience see your work, and I'm going to name the title. So this is entitled Black Women's Workforce. It was created in 2019 for the, and it's here in the museum on loan. And Shaniqua Benitez, I'm going to just give it pan out here so you can see and a few details. Hold on. Okay. So, hello. So Shaniqua, please tell us about yourself. Tell us about what's going on in this picture. Is it part of a series? Is it part of a larger thinking? Tell us about what was going on here. So first, I guess I'll start with my first question. Tell us about yourself.
Absolutely. My name is Shaniqua Benitez. Born and raised in Yonkers, New York. I currently reside in Harlem. I'm a full-time artist. I also work on textiles and, just anything really I could paint on. And I'm creative. I love being creative. This is what I do. I'm also very passionate about current events and, how different things affect African-American people throughout the world, not just in the United States. So that's just a little bit about me, a broad idea of what I represent.
And Shaniqua, how did you came to painting from another artistic form? Do you want to talk about your own journey about how you became a painter?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for me, when I was younger, I had alopecia. I still kind of have it, even though I have hair. But my hair fell out when I was 6, and it really made me withdrawn from people. So I first started writing a lot of poetry and just writing a lot of my feelings. And my dad used to tag the subways and the trains back in the day. And I always saw graffiti around the house and, so embedded with the culture inside of him. It just, it's so, even still to this day, he's just on current events and different things like that when it comes to creativity. So it's just been in my blood. I have a graphics certification from Saunders High School, which is a trade school. So I transitioned from graphics and writing probably, you know, in high school at some point. I started to really work with clothes and paint on clothes and different things like that. I just always felt like clothing is like a smile. You know, when you see people, your first impression is your smile, most likely, but they also see the clothes that you're wearing. So I learned very early on that, you know, what you wear has power. So I always wanted to put like little cool messages on, you know, on clothes and different things like that, where I could express what I'm feeling. So that's really how I came about. For me, my painting just comes from a place of different things that I'm going through, things that I've seen, things that I may have experienced. That's what drives me to create different work. And, you know, just kind of as a broad idea. Yeah.
I have to ask, because you just talked about your clothing, and so what do you have? What are you wearing right now? Like, just can you tip your head down?
Oh yeah. This is 1810 Media. This is my little brother lives in Idaho, Boise, Idaho. Shout out to the Idaho people. The art is actually really coming up out there. It's art everywhere downtown Boise. But this is his media company. So I'm just representing him right now. I just came from the gym, so just shouting him out. 1810 Media.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
Yeah.
I know that as you said, you're very conscious of what you wear and the power of what you wear. So I had to ask.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very rare that you will see me in something other than my own stuff. So.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's also rare to at this point. I see a lot of people wearing your stuff on them too. That's
Right.
another thing.
Yeah.
It's getting
crazy. It's crazy, you know, because I think that sometimes as artists, we create things that we love to create, and we don't realize how impactful those things could be for other people. We just create them, and sometimes we don't even really necessarily have that love for them or that connection. And then somebody else will see it and they'll be like, oh my God, you know, I love this. And that's the power of art, you know. Everybody has their own perception of things.
It's true. So speaking of power of art, so this is a powerful picture. And I'd like you to talk to us about what compelled you to paint it, and how you painted it, and any of the symbolism that you'd like us to focus on, and I can zoom in on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, you know, just like the title says, Black women's workforce is something that a lot of people don't speak about too often. Well, they haven't in the past. It's becoming a thing now. Black women go into the workforce. They are just as educated as you know, white women or white males, and yet they are even Black males. They are just as educated, but they seem to be paid, you know, 30% less in, you know, in all different types of work. You know, it doesn't matter if you're a lawyer, a doctor, a nurse, an artist. You know, it seems to be this thing of, you know, Black women not really being as, I'm looking for the right word. So yeah, so it's just like, it's hard to explain. So Black women go into the workforce, and I think that they are completely undervalued, and I think that they have to continue to go into these places and continue to try to break down these barriers and continue to try to knock down these doors. And this piece is just symbolic of never stopping, never quitting, never you know, forgetting who you are and what you represent and where you're trying to go. So in this piece, I just wanted to show, like, you know, faceless people, faceless women, to kind of represent all women. I didn't want to give them a face. I didn't want to give them an identity. I just wanted their bodies to kind of stand out more so. And I wanted the background to really kind of just represent the chaos of the world and everything that's going on around us. And, you know, Still We Rise is famous from Maya Angelou. So, you know, Black women on their way to kind of put in applications for jobs. So that's what this piece meant. I just started doing a lot of research around the time when I was getting ready for my show. And that was one of the things that I really wanted to kind of convey and bring to life onto the canvas. And I just kind of did that.
And as a Black woman artist, how do you find navigating the art world? Do you find, are there specific challenges? Are there particular successes? How are you finding your successes? What's your experience?
My experience is a little mixed. You know, I go into spaces and sometimes I show work and people are, you know, they love the work and they can't even believe that I am the one who created the work. So I have those, and then I have those, you know, those kind of like, you know, full circle moments where the acceptance is there. So obviously, you know, this is a world that is predominantly white. You know, this is not a Black or Latino or POC, person of color world, more so. So I find it, you know, I'm learning how to navigate better. And you know, things have really started to take off for me over the past, you know, 3 years or so. I think that because when you throw yourself to the wolves and you have a safety net, you always have something to fall back on. But when you kind of give something everything you have and without a safety net, which could be totally crazy or whatever, it depends on who you are, you find no excuses to do what you love. So for me, it's about walking into those spaces and letting people know, people that don't look like me, that people like me exist, and that we can create work on that same level as people that don't look like me. So that's really been my experience, just kind of learning and navigating and observing.
You often, when you write about your work, you often, nearly always, you say the rare ones never conform. And can you talk about that decision to not conform?
So again, just being outcasted at a young age from not having hair, which is like something I've totally become. Even though I have hair now, like if it was to fall out right now, I would be comfortable. I would be good. But I think that not conforming came from growing up in a place where I didn't have a choice. I had to be myself. I couldn't be like anybody else because I really didn't look like anybody else. You know, alopecia is something that's become very common now, but in the early 90s, it wasn't. It wasn't a common thing. So not conforming has been a way that I've lived my life from a very young age because I didn't have a choice. I had to live my life like that. So the rare ones, I think that people are here for a purpose, and nobody could do, you know, what someone else does. You know, I can't do what Masha does. I can't do what Picasso did. I can't, you know, no one can do what someone else does. You can only do what you do. And I think that once you start to conform to what people want you to be, you lose sense of who you are. So for me, reminding myself never to conform is just another, you know, way to remind myself to always be myself.
Thank you. And what is next? So we have a lot of people online who are curious about this work now, and also wondering where you're going. What's happening? I see, you know, you talk. I guess I'll ask you this because you live and work in the same place. And so how does that impact your creative process?
Right.
When do you work? How do you work? When are you inspired? Is it
Right.
regimented? Does it strike you in the middle of the night? What happens?
Right. So right now I want to transition from working on clothing so much, and I really want to focus more on my art. So, you know, we just had a crazy year, you know, between a pandemic, between a civil rights movement, between the craziest presidential election ever, probably. There's so much I had to fill back up in. So like right now, I'm definitely going into a different space. So you can see like the bear behind me, which is like my fun kind of like pop art type of stuff. But I'm definitely going into a more, you know, informative space where I want to get back to making work like what you guys see here on the wall. So this is definitely an indication of where my work is going for 2021. Hopefully, you know, we'll have some normalcy and people will be able to enjoy things like this conversation in person. So I think that is all I think it's all about what happens in 2021. We got to see where we're at with this, with our health, with the pandemic, the state of the union, the state of the world. But I'm just going to keep creating and keep growing. For me, working in my space, it's a blessing and it's a curse. I'm definitely at a place where I probably need a separate studio. Sometimes it can be very challenging to wake up and be inside of the art already. You don't have to go anywhere to kind of get that feeling. You're already there. So sometimes that could be great, you know what I mean? But sometimes that could also be a curse, because you get this thing where you're not in a space where you want to create because you're so comfortable. You need to be, sometimes you need to be uncomfortable to really let the work out of you. You know what I mean? So for me, I find it a gift and a curse, but I do like to create at night. So, which is something that I find myself battling with, because it's tough. You know, I'll go all day, I'll run errands, I'll do this, and then 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock hits, and I'm like, okay, I got to start working. And then I'm working till literally like 2, 3 in the morning. So it's tough. But it's all about just the moment, you know. Sometimes you have those moments where you just can't stop, and sometimes you just don't have it. So I think that yeah, it's a gift and a curse, but we just we riding it out right now. We'll see what happens. Hopefully a lot of shows, hopefully some career changing showcases happen in 2021. So
Yes, for all artists, because I know it's also a time of it's a challenging time for so many, and it definitely is a challenging time for artists. It's a really good time to look at what artists are doing and support artists.
right.
And someone, by the way, is saying that they understand it, that they get
Right.
it, that they work out of their home themselves, and that challenge, that blessing and curse, right? The comfort,
Absolutely.
it works and it works with you and against you.
Right.
You're in an exhibition that features over 40 women identifying artists that cross the span of about 150 years. Does that have any particular meaning for you, to be in a show that only focuses on the work of women?
Yes, absolutely. Me, you know, I look at it first. I am a woman. You know, I'm a lesbian. I'm a Black woman. So I have all these different things that you have to fight with the world with right now. It's an honor to be in a show like this. For me, not just being in a show with, you know, some historical people, and just being a part of something that is going to go down in history. I think that it's amazing for me to even be in the Hudson River Museum. A lot of people know, you know, just being born and raised in Yonkers, New York. That was the museum that we took trips to first, you know. And I always just, you know, I always had this thing inside of me where I just knew, you know, I knew I was creative. I knew I wanted to do something creative. I knew I wanted to see myself on these walls. So to be in this particular show, in this museum, is just, you know, it's no words for that. It's an honor. And again, women, not just women of color, women are very undervalued in the art world. So, you know, that making a show like this in general is just amazing. So I'm just happy to be on the right side of history.
And so are we. We're working to be more and more on the right side of history.
Absolutely.
So Shaniqua, thank you for sharing your work. Again, everyone, for those who are just tuning in, I want to just zoom in to the work. Again, it is called Black Women's Workforce. It was created in 2019. This is Chaniqua Benitez. You should follow her work as well. And Shaniqua, I want to give you just that moment. Do you have any closing thoughts about this?
Just a little preview of like some stuff I'm working on. These are like small little like reference pieces that I kind of want to make very big eventually. But I mean, I guess just to close out, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to anybody that's been to the show. It's still open for another month. I'm looking forward to getting some stuff in the gift shop. Hopefully this week I could get that dropped off. I'm just excited. Go see the show. It's beautiful. Not just, you know, my piece, the whole thing it's amazing. There's some really great artists in there. And keep creating. I mean, it's a crazy time, but keep working.
Thank you so much. So thank you for being part of this exhibition and for bringing your perspectives in. And bringing your art, your lived experiences. Thank you for being from the Yo.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Have
Thank
to do
you.
that. And we look forward to seeing you, everyone. This exhibition, Women to the Fore, is on view until January 3rd, so you can come and see it. The museum is open to the public from Thursday through Sunday. There's plenty of time to see it. We have time visits available. It's an outstanding collection, and I'll close this out by promoting an upcoming talk on December 19th, the one that's on the top of my head, December 19th. You can see this mural in the background. We'll be having a talk on the work in the background called The Garden of the Divine Feminine. That will take place virtually, so you can sign up for that. And the artists are Patty Santos, Katori Walker, and Nancy Mendez, and they will be talking about their inspiration behind that work. Again, Shaniqua and Joséphine and Seongmin, I want to say thank you to all of you. Here we are in Women to the Fore, again, open till January 3rd, and we hope that you will come in and experience these conversations of over 40 female identifying artists over the span of 150 years at the Hudson River Museum.
All right. Peace. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.